I got Ed and Emily from Snake Discovery. I don't think you need any more of a pre-show teaser. Let's get right to it tonight. Good evening and welcome to the show. So glad to have you all tonight. It's 8 o'clock on the East Coast. It's 7 o'clock here in like temperate Minnesota. The snow's coming. I think I got like 3-4 days before like snow accumulates, but it's still pretty nice today. I shipped out a bunch of animals today, and I'll take the non-freezing, non-snow for as long as I can get it. But I know it's coming. So anyhow, I hope that you all are doing well. It's been a fun week. I was down in Kansas City this weekend, vending at the Cold Blooded Expo show in Overland Park. If I got to meet you there, thanks for coming by. It's cool to hang out. It's a pretty fun city to get away to. I got to say, I enjoyed it. It's a little bit of a drive. Like it's a little longer than I usually like to go for a vending show, but it was very good. And like I say, Cold Blooded always does a great job. I got Ed and Emily from Snake Discovery on the show tonight, but I think you all already know that. If you are here because of them, which is very cool. That's one of the reasons you would have somebody like them on the show. I want to introduce myself. My name's Adam. The company is properroyals. I am a ball python breeder, entrepreneur. I have a couple different small businesses. And I do this show every Tuesday night live at 8 o'clock, same channel, same place. We'll keep it PG, family friendly. Maybe boring for families, but it is family friendly. Generally, I give you a warning if not ahead of time. But I love talking business, the ball python industry. A lot of shows talk about, the specific animals or show the animals. I like to talk more about business, building a community, building brands. And I can't think of a better guest to cover those topics tonight than Snake Discovery. So if you're new here and you enjoy it and you like it, I'd love to see you back. Feel free to like, subscribe. That stuff doesn't cost anything. And like I say, thanks for being here. Hope that you enjoy the show tonight. I too am in Minnesota. I'm just south of Minneapolis. And so I live and operate here and go to the shows and vend at the shows that Ed and Emily have. So I'm here in Minneapolis. Let's see, this Saturday, I don't know if you guys have seen it. If you've seen my channel on Instagram, I've been promoting it a lot. No affiliation, just a new opportunity that I want to try and seize and make the most of. There's an app called Palm Street, P-A-L-M, like the tree, Palm Street. And they've welcomed specifically the ball python community, but also there's geckos as well. It's like an interactive live streaming sales platform, and I do auctions on there. So this Saturday night at 8 p.m. on Palm Street, if you haven't checked it out, feel free to go check it out. It's free to download, and then if you just really fast, you might have to rewind this in the future, but if you download it, you press the live button, and then you scroll the categories all the way to the end. You'll see one that says snakes. Click on that, and that's where you're going to find my show information. But Saturday night at 8 p.m. on Palm Street, I will have a snake that starts as little as $1. The rest will have reserve bids. But last weekend, sold 6 of the 10 snakes I put up there. So there's some great bargains. Keep an eye on the Instagram this week. I'll give you sneak peeks all week long. Speaking of Ed and Emily, on December 8th, I will be vending at their show in Hastings, Minnesota at the Armory. Always a fun show, and I really look forward to that show. Every show has like its own personality, and I really like the personality of that show. I do well. It fits with the animals that I have, and anyhow, it's nice. It's in town. Anyway, come out. I hope to see you there. That is December 8th at the Hastings Armory. One of our sponsors tonight, shedtesting.com, has a special deal for you just for tonight, just for the viewers tonight. If you want to, those of y'all that don't know, you can genetically test your ball python now for certain genes. So if you bought it and you're like, I think the guy said yellow belly, Mojave, this or that, you could send in your sheds and have them genetically tested. There is a cost to it, but it's relatively inexpensive. And tonight it's going to get more inexpensive for you. Tonight, this expires at midnight, but hear me out on this. At shedtesting.com, that is Charlie Williams. He handles all the testing, the customer service. He's got over 32 tests that you can choose from if you go to the website. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But the code is PR30, as in proper royals, but it's PR30. You're going to get 30% off of one order of sheds. You can order as many individual sheds as you want, but it's a one-time order, and it's only tonight. So you don't have to mail the stuff tomorrow. You have to purchase the sheds and the shed tests, and then you'll send them in at your convenience when you have them. But you have to purchase them tonight. 30% off. How's that for a little early Black Friday? I'm bringing some value from the sponsors. Or, hang out here on Tuesday night. It's a good place to be. So I'll tell you more about shedtesting.com a little bit later in the advertiser segment. But PR30 is going to get you that 30% off tonight. So if you've been waiting to do some tests, now's your time. Next week on the show, I've got Miguel himself from Miggy's Morphs will be on the show Tuesday night, 8 p.m. next week. And then we'll get into our December run of shows. I've got to figure it out. At the end of the month, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve are on Tuesday. I can't do the show. I got to hang out with the big man. He's coming down the chimney. I got to make sure the cookies are ready, the milk, all that good stuff. I can't be doing a show. I got to figure out what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll do like morning shows. We'll do like a brunch. Nobody's working that day. We could do like a brunch show, right? I don't know. I'll figure it out. Stay tuned on that. I think that's it for the announcements. And thank you for bearing with me because I know you probably didn't come here for my announcements tonight. Emily and Ed, everybody that owns a snake, I think in the world, but certainly maybe in America or are here tonight knows who they are. I am genuinely impressed and intrigued by a business model that can be both a destination, a media icon in our industry, and I would say a lifestyle. If you've ever gone to a show that they do an appearance at, you'll see why I say it's a lifestyle. So I'm highly intrigued. They've also been very, very kind, very welcoming. As a new vendor and a new breeder in a marketplace, I'm kind of a fish out of water here in Minnesota. I moved from Florida a year ago, and their shows have been great. It makes me feel very, very welcome here in this market, which I had massive trepidations about when I came here. The cold, all that, everybody told me about that, but the rest of it, I didn't know what I was getting into. So I'm so pleased to have gotten to know them, and I can't believe that here we are hanging out tonight on the Proper Royals channel. So please welcome for the very first time to the Proper Royals stage, Emily and Ed Roberts of Snake Discovery.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, thanks for sitting through the intro. It's I always feel so weird talking about people knowing they're sitting there listening to me and like they can't say anything until they come on, So thanks for being here. I hope we have fun, and I know you guys are busy. I can't believe you made time. This is great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We have a little bit of a break in between trips right now, so we're good. We're good. We've got all evening. Well, kind of. We have to run back and film a video after this, but yes, we have plenty of time for the podcast tonight.
I will. I promise. I will stick to our time commitment, and it's worked out well. I used to see these podcasts that go 3-5 hours. I'm like, what do we possibly have to talk about for that long? So we'll keep it at that 60 or 90 minutes, and we'll roll on. So the one thing I didn't say thanks to was the audience tonight. Thanks for coming tonight. Thanks guys for being a part of the show, because otherwise it's just us talking with a video. So we'll keep an eye on the comments, but I can't promise that every comment we can address and that stuff. But usually I can make a little time at the end, and I do make notes, and I'll keep track of some great questions that maybe we can get to at the end. So you said you were traveling. Where's the next stop for you all?
I think we just got back from Stevens Point today, and then I think we don't have to go anywhere until at least after Thanksgiving, Christmas actually.
Yeah. Anything in December?
No, I think we actually are in town for the rest of the year.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing though.
That's got to be a nice feeling. Like today, I mean, I don't travel nearly as much as you all do, but the past 8 weeks, I think I've done 7 shows and, through
You're
the whole
over.
region. So yeah, I mean, from Kansas City to Fargo to Tinley and everywhere in between. So I remember today being like, this Palm Street thing on Saturday is going to be a breeze. It's going to be so fun. Just get on, get off. There are 1 minute auctions. Did you guys sell anything at the one? You guys did one in St. Louis, didn't you, or not?
Yes. Yes, we were part of the throughout the weekend. One person hosted, and we just kind of hopped in for one of the auctions, and we auctioned off a Conda Het toffee or Conda Het albino, I think, hognose snake, and I found a home. Yeah, so it should have been shipped out today, I think. Robin took care of all that. REDLINE shipping anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found a home.
We just left it in Robin's care. We're like, yeah, he ships things for a living. So.
Right. Yeah. If anybody, I don't know if a lot of people know that if REDLINE is at a show that you're at and you need to ship it home, they do on-site shipping at the shows that they're at. So I think it's a neat value add, and I wouldn't think of that as even now as a vendor. I'm like, oh yeah, I should leverage that a little bit more sometimes. So.
It's really nice when when you have to fly to a show and then there's snakes that you want to buy, but previously you couldn't because you can't snake them on a plane very easily. So now you can buy and just use REDLINE shipping, and they'll ship them for you, meet you at home.
So have you ever snuck a snake on a plane? I thought I heard a little hesitation there.
No, we haven't. We've talked about it because some people claim that if you claim them during TSA, they are supposed to let you through, but we've never risked it because
that's a
what
bit of
happens
a
if they don't let you through? Yeah.
I feel like that's content. Like that's worth the ticket to try to get through TSA, even if you don't fly anywhere. Just get through and turn around and film it.
Maybe we should do that with an MSP.
Well, that's a good
just bring a snake, and if we get through, we go on our vacation. If not, we just stay home.
Oh my gosh, that's a great idea. Yeah, we may have to try that now.
All right. Well, if you need the camera, no, you just film yourselves. Never mind. All right. Let me know how it goes. Okay. So I don't think we have to do origin stories, and God knows there's content and all that, but a few things I'm really intrigued by, like I say, is sort of the scope and the scale of your brand. What part of it came first? Was it the media part that came first? Was it the physical snake discovery place? How did all that formulate, and how did that start? How did that bubble up, so to speak?
Yeah, so Snake Discovery started as essentially a traveling reptile show. So we would bring reptiles to schools and scouts and libraries and teach people about them. And then after a year, would you say? Maybe 2-3 years of programs?
I think it was about 2 years of programs.
Yeah, we made it a goal to do, we realized we could reach a much larger audience if we made digital education. So we made it a goal to do 1 video a week for a year, just to have a bank of educational videos. And then at the end of the year, we could decide, do we want to continue this or not? We would decide at the end of the year.
Well, really it came down to, she had 4 programs in a day that were an hour apart. So she had very scheduled out. I have an hour and a half, then I have a half an hour of handling, and then I got to get on the road in 10 minutes so I can get to the next place on time. And she'd have families come up going, I fell in love with your fat tail geckos. How do you how do you set up and take care of this animal? And Emily went, that's not a 5-minute answer. Let me, email me. And then we got to the point where we're like, well, let's just do care guides, because then we could just send people to the channel and they could, do their own research from what, she would tell them, and then tell them to do other research as well. But then that kind of just took off.
Yeah.
How long ago was that? When were you doing the in-person, like you say, scouts, libraries, that sort of thing?
We started the programs themselves in 2015, if I remember correctly. That was my first year where I broke away from my full-time job and just started Snake Discovery and focused on programs. So it was a lot of networking and advertising that first summer. But then after that first summer, it was just kind of word of mouth. And I had plenty of programs the following year, and it just kind of kept growing to the point where I think in 2020, before they all got canceled because of COVID, I think I had 350 programs scheduled for that year. Yeah. So it grew and it kept me busy, and we just kind of did the videos in addition to those.
Yeah. That's a similar story to what Brian Gundy was telling me. He said, he just does them. He doesn't. I was like, well, how do you advertise? How do you reach? He's like, I don't know. I get 3-4 calls a day though. I'll tell you that. And I'm like, okay, all right. That's pretty good. So these things are wildly popular in person, but like you say, you get the logistics of trying to figure out how to scale. So like I play live music as well, but the challenge for me is I can't scale myself. I can't be in 5 places playing live music at the same time. And that had to be the same problem that you were running up against, it sounds like.
Yeah, there was quite a demand, and I had to start turning people away because I'd be double booked if I didn't. Mm-hmm. So nowadays, since we have so many different things going on, I actually don't do the programs unless there's an emergency and one of our educators calls in sick, or there's a scheduling conflict and I have to jump in and do one of the trips or something. But I'm kind of backup educator in case of emergency, but I don't schedule myself to do programs just normally day to day.
Do you guys still, but do you only do them at the facility now, or do you go out and like do outreach programs too now, or not?
Oh, yeah, we do offsite programs all the time. Yeah.
Really?
So we still do the libraries. We cover all of Minnesota and Wisconsin. So throughout the summer is our busiest season because that's when libraries do their summer reading programs and summer schools need things to do for their kiddos. So we do a ton of programs during the summer, but we have one full-time year-round educator at Snake Discovery, and she takes care of the slow season by herself, but then we have additional seasonal help for the summer.
This has got to be a rock star. Who is this person?
Oh, our educator, her name is Kaya. She started as an intern, and she just really took the programs and ran with them. She's so happy, so positive all the time. Yeah. And when the position became available from our previous educator moving away, we offered it to Kaya, and she's been doing great. Man,
congratulations. I'm just thinking of the logistics and the trust it takes to send somebody out with your brand. You got to have the right person. And how comfortable or how long did it take you to get comfortable with letting go of that piece?
I'm pretty sure Emily's still not comfortable.
Okay. Yeah. That's what business operators have to run into, right? Where you go, I can't do everything myself. So either I'm going to cap out here or I got to trust somebody.
It's difficult to let go sometimes because when the business is your baby and it's your reputation, to trust someone to represent your brand off site, it's nerve-wracking to say the least. So I don't know from that perspective or from your perspective, but I know from those of y'all watching that don't know, I've spent a career running restaurants and resorts. That's why I wear the chef coat. But yeah, you can't cook every meal for every person. I can't be at every wedding for every bride. I can't, if you got 4 restaurants around the property. So me trusting people was a bit of a hurdle sometimes, and especially the bigger the operation, So I do understand that. And that's why it's both impressive and curious to me, because I was amazed to hear that you guys are still doing the going out sort of education stuff. When did the building come in all of that? You have, I mean, for people that don't know, you have a full on reptile zoo and facility, people come to it. Yeah, we do. We've been open about 3 years now, but at the beginning of 2019.
End of 2019.
Well, beginning is when we started looking.
Oh, okay.
So beginning of 2019, we were like, we have so many reptiles. It'd be our dream end goal, I guess you could call it, was opening a reptile retail store. So we really wanted to be able to open that up. So beginning of 2019, we started looking at properties, and we found an empty building that was previously a garden center in Maplewood, Minnesota. And when our agent walked us through it, we were like, oh my gosh, this is within our price range or within our budget. Yep. And it's so big, we could do more than just a reptile store. So then the gears started turning, and it was because of that building walkthrough that we actually decided to do something more than just a store. Yep. So we bought that at the end of 2019, and then COVID happened in March of 2020, so it postponed a lot of construction, but finally got building done.
How bad of a heart attack did you have? I mean, so 4 months, I don't even know what you dropped, but it had to be north of 6 figures. I mean, or in 6 figures. I just know what properties cost. You drop a massive amount of money, 4 months, and you're like, yep, too bad. You're just at best, you're going to wait and hope. And
yeah. I mean, the silver lining was I was able to cancel all of my programs for 2020 because of quarantine. So instead of being off-site and doing programs, which until COVID, I wasn't sure how I was going to contribute to the construction and building of the zoo and the store. But then COVID happened, and we were able to focus completely on the zoo. So that just became our COVID project, and it actually worked out really well.
Now what was going on with the social media channel at that time? Had it, I have to use the word exploded. I mean, I can't think of a better word, and that's not being patronizing. You have literally millions of followers. How was that evolving at the time?
As soon as quarantine started, I think the views spiked, and because of that, ad revenue spiked momentarily, but then all the advertisers, if I remember correctly, pulled back after a couple of weeks into quarantine.
That's
so
right.
The income wasn't, what it used to be. Yeah, but we had so many people watching videos and just enjoying content from home when they were stuck in quarantine that we continued it, and actually we expanded from 1 video a week. I think it was COVID that we
around there,
we switched to doing 2 videos a week.
I think we started doing unboxing videos because we had a mountain of fan mail. Like our entire living room was full of fan mail. And we were like, well, we got all this fan mail and we've seen, we watch YouTube and we see a couple of our creator that we follow start doing unboxings and stuff like that, just being funny behind the camera. And we were like, well, I mean, there's no reason we couldn't do that. And it would be a good way to get our living room back. So we started doing that. And we'd upload those on the other day of the week, and then it just kind of went, people enjoyed both days, so we're like, I guess we'll just keep doing the 2 days a week. So
we've been doing it ever since.
Yep.
It's weird, because it was such a weird time, and it's a little bit of when my journey in this whole thing started. I was like, first, my wife was skeptical of who I was going to sell snakes to. So I was like, all right, I got to build a brand. So I'm going to do that. But the other thing that was going on at the time is the property I was working for was still buying billboards on interstates to advertise. And I was like, for what you guys are paying for these billboards, I know we can reach tens of, if not hundreds of thousands of people. And they all looked at me like I was absolutely insane. Like I'm sitting in a room with like business dinosaurs going, guys, we can, and so I was like, you know what? I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to use snakes to figure it out. And I'm going to walk in there and tell them, I built a brand selling snakes on the internet. We can sell weddings without billboards on the interstate. And to this day, I still consult for that. I've since left the company. I resigned and to face this full time, but I still consult for that company to this day. But that came during COVID as well, where I was just like I was watching guys like Chris Hardwick and some of you all, Billy at Mutation Creation. I was like, there's something to this. Like, just like you say, just like being goofy behind the scenes, who you really are in your home, finding ways to interact with people. And I was like, I got to figure some of this out. So that was all happening at that same time then?
We started the YouTube channel in 2017. And I think it went to, the first year we were up to about 5,000 subscribers. And then there was, at the end of that year, we had a Legless Lizard video that just for some reason took off. And that just jumped us up into the hundreds of thousands. And then I think in the end of 2018 or early 2019, we were at a million subscribers at that point.
Wow.
So we were at that point when COVID hit, which was nice because we did have the building that we were still paying the loan for. And that was eating out of the YouTube fund.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, so did that actually, did that save the day? Because, I mean, yeah, you still had maybe they paused some payments or whatever. But I mean, at the end of the day, you still had a building you had to pay for that you didn't want to not have. So somewhere, some money was going to have to come from somewhere.
Right. And since all my programs were canceled, I did not have that revenue stream for the entirety of 2020 and part of 2021. So thankfully with YouTube and the ad revenue that we did get, we were able to make it by with the mortgage that did not go away.
I was also still working full time at my previous job at that time. So
gotcha. Did you guys just learn as you go, or did you go to business school? What was the insight on some of this stuff? Like, I always love asking that question because I see you laughing already. There's a cool story here, right?
Yeah. So I actually started college as a business major, and I was going to go to Carleton at the U of M. Yep. And I took my first accounting class and realized, I cannot do this. I could not handle accounting. I mean, I made it through the course, but it was just a headache. Boring. I couldn't do it. So I did a 180 and switched majors to fisheries and wildlife. So that's what I got my bachelor's degree in, was fisheries and wildlife at the University of Minnesota. But I guess I've always just had a business mindset, so that thankfully has helped out. And then I got managerial experience at PetSmart, working there for a decade. So that has also helped out quite a bit.
Yeah.
And Ed has also kind of had, Ed has had an interesting way to this point as well with IT background.
Yeah, I was just IT. I went to school for IT. I got a job in IT.
Yeah.
I got a second job in IT, and now I do IT for snake discovery.
I love hearing how. One thing about our community I found, especially like specifically ball pythons, just because that's where I focus the most on, nobody like went to school to breed or be a ball python business person. They're all experts in something else. So like, I know a guy that's a banker. I know a guy that runs and maintains pressure washers, or an HVAC guy, or heating and construction. And it's a whole different episode, but I'm going through looking and securing commercial properties right now. And I'm like, okay, who can I call about spray foam installation and this inspector that wants a drawing? Because I don't know what any of it means and I know nothing about it. And then other people will call me and go, hey, why do you do this way or that way? And I go, well, because the margins were tiny in food and beverage and I had to learn how to get successful in restaurants. And I figure if I can make it there, I can make it somewhere else, or production or setup or blah, blah, blah. But I love how the different areas of skill we find ways to apply. So that's like a superpower though. If you have the fisheries and wildlife, you're figuring out the business and you have the IT angle behind it. That's a pretty good duo. Yeah.
Like Ed knowing IT has come in handy more times than I can count. He has saved our butts with like a register going down. Ed can magically fix it within like 10 minutes. So he works miracles at snake discovery.
I mean, that just comes from the years of going into places that are on fire, from them being like, everything is down, you have to get us back up and running. And I'm like, I can do what I can do, and that's all I can do. But
yeah, I do think there's a few jobs where people don't realize that there's a human there. And I have to admit, like with IT, I've been like, I pay you, fix this, please. I need this because I can't run my business right now. And there's a lot of money that I need to collect right now. So credit to all the IT people out there saving the rest of our butts for sure. Without getting too specific or too personal, how does one go from not having a building and not having a business, or maybe you did have your show presentation business? Where did the money, really what I'm asking is, where did the money come from to get the building? And you said there was a mortgage, so there's a bank involved. How's that go when you walk into a bank and you go, well, I take some snakes out and about and I do okay. And now I want to buy, I don't know, how big's your building? 4,000 square feet?
10,000.
10,000.
I want to buy 10,000 square feet of that real estate over there. How does that go for you?
I mean, it really helps when the building's dilapidated and needs not really worth market value.
Yeah, we had to gut it like to dirt ground, literally.
Yeah.
But yeah, thankfully, I had a few years of programs to kind of show that I did have a profitable business, at least until thankfully we got approved for the loan right before COVID hit. So the bank was able to see the growth in the business, so that helped out. And Ed still had a decent paying IT position at the job. So those two combined got us approved for the loan for the building. And once we had the loan, we kind of knew what our budget was. Mm-hmm. So that's when we were able to start looking around. But YouTube helped with the down payment a bit. We had saved up for quite a while, and then the loan was probably the rest of it.
We also went with a small bank in our town that I think only has like 5 locations. And they were like, we'll take a chance on you guys. And we're like, thank you so much.
I'm really glad you brought that up. Like I say, I'm going through a commercial thing myself right now. As convenient as the massive banks are, the small banks that still have the discretion to be able to get to know somebody, and I don't know if put faith in them is the right word, but to dig deeper to quantify what they're saying. Because like, pick your massive bank. You walk in there, you're going to fill out an application. If it doesn't fit what their computer says, it's a yes or no. It's just not going to, it either is or isn't going to happen. Whereas, I worked with it's actually a bank in Iowa, but I worked with a smaller bank there, and we picked apart what I'm doing. Here's the tax returns. And it's complicated because I had salaries. I had consulting 1099s. I'm selling snakes. I have a little bit of ad revenue here. They're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm figuring it out, I promise, but I need this and I need to make this work. And they were able to do that. Whereas, like I say, my local big bank that I use every day for their ATM or whatever, not a chance. That wasn't going to fly in there one bit.
Yeah, we had the entire board of directors and CEO of the bank come by the shop. They set up a meeting, and we walked into the shop, showed everything, and they took us out to lunch and all that kind of stuff. It was a fun time. So
that was after we'd already opened.
Yes.
Not to show them the building beforehand. Once everything was running, they, this entire time we've had this loan with them, they've been curious about snakes and what kind of a business it was. So they wanted to see it in person. So we just spent a day together there.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I'm going through right now is discussing with town planners, making sure that permitted use and all of that. And they go, wait, excuse me, say that again. What?
We've had a rocky past with the whole city ordinance in Maplewood when everything's said and done. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They're a pain to work with, but thankfully we're open. They allowed the business. Yep. At least at first.
There was like 3 or 4 things that they were going to be like, nope, we can't do that. And I would have shut down everything. And we're like, guys, when we talked to you before, you gave us permission. And then they're like, well, that wasn't in writing. And it's like, okay, let's discuss this.
Yeah.
Right.
Once we had all the Universal Rocks material up, then the new inspector that came in was like, oh, that is not fireproof or fire rated. Yeah. And we're like, yes, it is. Here's all the documentation for it. It took probably a week of convincing him to not make us tear down all the Universal Rocks and find something else. Yep. But thankfully, it worked out in the end.
The silver lining that I like hearing through all this tells me that you've done things the right way. You got a bank loan because you had a paper trail of revenue. You got approved to be open, and you can't operate underground with the scale and magnitude of people that I mean, the bigger the logo, the higher the scrutiny, right? And your logo's gotten pretty darn big these days. So it always worries me when I hear people going, well, I don't claim this, or nobody needs to know about this. And I'm like, you're never going to grow if you there's going to come a day that you need credit, you need something official, you need an inspector, you're going to cap yourself out if not. So I like that that's part of the story. Even though it's a headache, I like that that's part of the story though too.
The nice thing is knowing everything is approved gives me that peace of mind, knowing that there won't be a city official or inspector swinging by being like, why do you have Universal Rocks? Like since we had the headaches earlier, we don't have to have them anymore.
Yep, it's in writing.
Yeah.
We got approved for it. So, they can't come in and change their mind now.
Yeah.
How are and this isn't, not trying to set up any drama or trap or anything. How's the local community? Like, do you get like that same bank I talk about? I walk in now and there's one lady, like the bank manager. She's like, that's the guy. He's the one. How was your show, Adam? I'm like, okay, let it be. I don't need an announcement every time I walk in that I breed snakes,
Our neighbors, I don't think they really swing by that much. We try to kind of introduce ourselves to the neighbors when we initially bought the building. There's really only been one that has tried to make us fail in every potential way he could. It took forever because of one particular neighbor. Just for some reason having a vendetta against snakes or something, but it took a long time to finally get a light in the parking lot approved by the city because of the resistance that he brought to the city officials. And it's given us some struggles, but
most people we run across like at our bank, it's the same thing. They're just like, "Oh my gosh, it's snake people!" And what have you guys been doing? How's business? Oh, I got to make it out there. Stuff like that. So they do. Like most people are very open to the idea of everything, which is cool to see because it's usually you almost go everywhere and it's like outside of the reptile world. It's like, what do you do? Why are you going to do with snakes?
It does pique a lot of people's curiosity, though.
Yes.
Like if we're gassing up one of our cars and they have full wraps on them and they're covered in snakes, pretty frequently people will come up to us and ask, do you have any snakes in there? Or what is snake discovery? So then we get to talk about snakes in the gas stations.
I
got pulled over in my car today for speeding, and the cop was like, what's snake discovery? And I was like, okay, let's not go into that, please.
After he had given him the speeding ticket, then he goes, what's snake discovery? And we're like, you already gave us the ticket, so we're not going to do the whole thing.
Knock on wood, I got pulled over once. I was heading up to Joe's one morning, and I did get pulled over once, and that guy was fine. And knock on wood, I've been clear of the local authorities otherwise. But yeah, there is one teller at the bank. Like, I'll go in to make deposits, and he'll like lean in quietly. He's like, "Is that snake money?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's
like a drug deal.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
It's funny seeing the different reactions you get when you work with snakes in general.
Well, and I think most people are just like, what would you say, like cautiously curious? Like there's like an intrigue to it that feels like, I don't think it feels dangerous, but it just feels different. It's not their normal experience. And I think that there is an attraction that people like about that. And I think you all are amazing at it. If you cannot be, I don't think it's being normal, but if we're not like scared, I don't know, whatever's in people's minds of what snake people are, which is not fair anyway, that's nonsense. But, I think people being out front with their brand and their personalities and being human is really, really vital to our industry and to our hobbies.
I think the stigma or the expectation from the general public when they hear of a snake person is a big burly guy covered in tattoos and piercings. And once they realize that, snakes in general are becoming more mainstream and quote unquote, the normal general population, that they would consider normal, not covered in tattoos, can have snakes and everything is fine. I think they're finally becoming more accepted in the general public and in a good way, which is fantastic.
I think so too. And I think the internet has helped. I think brands like yours have helped. I think that just people can be like, I don't know where, like say 30 years ago, I don't know where people found credible information other than whatever crazy stigmas were in their minds, And I think that there's more, for all the faults of social media and the internet and all that. I think there's so much beneficial to it that I think that has been a massive help. I don't know how, honestly, I don't even know how I would have built a brand 30 years ago. I certainly couldn't have afforded billboards and, flyers, taping them to people's doors. That wasn't going to go well with snakes. So getting back to some of the business stuff, what would be like the main categories of revenue streams now that you have? So there's the physical store, there's social media, you have the outreach, I call it outreach, but the traveling out education that you have. Are those the primary ones? Are there other things that you work on, or is advertising a big part of it? Do you take like brand deals and things like that?
We used to do sponsorships and take brand deals, but it's so much work putting together the 2-minute ads that we just don't have time to do it anymore. Yeah. So we don't pursue that at all. But we do have a warehouse, and that's our online store just for merch and reptile supplies. So we were previously using a third party for merch, but we just didn't like the quality of it. So we decided, if we can control the quality and make sure it's decent, we may as well just jump into the deep end and do it all ourselves. So the warehouse is where we store all of our stuff, and we have the online store. So that has finally kicked off, I think, this year, now that we have introduced reptile products. That's been great. And then January, we signed a lease for another location that we're referring to as Snake House. We, for biosecurity reasons, have moved our breeding collection to this other offsite location.
Sure.
It'll take a couple of years for the breeding stock to be, I guess, productive. Yeah. But to grow and actually be profitable, I guess is more of the word I'm looking for. But we know it's an investment. It's going to take some time, but hopefully that will be another revenue stream down the line with captive bred, high quality snakes for folks.
Yeah, we in the animal segment, I actually would love to dig into that here in just a minute on that as well. That you said something there that might take a couple years, and use the word profitable. How it feels like that outlook is probably different than when you first start. Like, I don't know. For me, it's really hard to go, well, it's going to be 4 years. Like, I'm like, I got to have something that has cash flow now. I can build something, but I need the cash flow to survive because I don't have 4 years of stuff to live on. And I know that you're not starting from scratch, but I feel like that outlook comes with like a business maturity. Do you feel that way, or did you always have that outlook where you're like, it's okay, it's going to take a while?
I think it's come with time. So we used to, when it was like, we're always pretty stingy people. It's kind of crazy. Like, we just never really spend money on ourselves. We spend it on the business because that's basically for ourselves. We made our hobby into our business. So when we were just doing YouTube, we did YouTube for a long time, just out of the house with our phones, with small lighting. Then we made the big investment up to a camera, and we rode that camera for 4 years.
It broke in so many ways, but it's still.
You needed a pen to turn it on.
Yeah, we don't mention that. It's fine. As long as you have a pen, you can turn it on, because I broke the trigger.
Little
yeah, but finally, I think this spring is when we replaced that. Was that this year?
That was this year.
Yeah, we finally replaced that old broken camera.
But
what model was that's like a pretty good testament to its durability. Or do you want to say
GX5?
GX5, yep.
Yeah.
There's a Canon. Was it a Canon or a Sony, or was it
Panasonic Lumix? Panasonic.
All I remember is Lumix GX5.
Yeah.
With anything related to technology, I just let Ed determine that, because his IT background, he loves to nerd out when it comes to gadgets and new toys. So when we needed a new camera,
Panasonic.
Okay, Panasonic. Yep.
Okay. I for anybody that is watching and that wants a camera for this kind of stuff, I have a buddy, Steven at Leviathan Snakes. Shout out to Steven. He's a camera nut, and he was explaining all this stuff to me, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, all right, do you want the best camera for the dumbest person? And I was like, yes, that's the one that I want.
That's like up my alley. Ed wants all the bells and whistles. I just want on and off and focus. As long as I can focus and turn on and off and record, that's all I need in a camera.
So I have the Canon M50. That's what I'm filming on now. And that and an iPhone 14 maybe is what I have. And that covers all of my visual technology need. That's what I go for on that.
Nowadays, we're Android folks, so we have the Samsung Galaxy S22s, which Ed's
we need to get replaced.
Mine only records one side of audio, and his records shaky. Really yeah, so we can't really use our phone. We try to make it work because we're terrible YouTubers, and we have just been putting off getting new phones. But we make it work. We've strung them along for years like this. And then for our camera, I think it's a Sony A7, it looks like.
A7 IV.
A7 IV? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's what we're using now. It's really heavy, and I don't like it as much as the old one, but it isn't broken, so I'll give it that.
I don't want to make any assumptions, but maybe you could get a phone or two with the YouTube check next month. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe
we should. My screen's coming off too, but it still works. I hate wasting things. Like college taught me to prevent anything going into a landfill, prevent e-waste. So I make technology last as long as possible.
Well, all joking aside and giving you a hard time about buying a phone, those are the business things that we figure out and that you have to do. And because you can't just have everything, because the money will run out. And again, I always tell people, I'm like, well, you got to figure out how you're going to eat each night or pay the bills to keep the electricity on and that kind of thing. And I do think that sticks with a lot of entrepreneurs, because that's just the reality of life and a lifestyle that you almost have to choose, especially starting out. Like, it's a whole different story after you've grown, but starting out, I think that's imperative, I think.
Well, and even now we sit back and look at things like when we're even thinking about starting like a new lease or something like that, we look at the trends of where the business is at, how much money is being brought in versus how much is going out as far as like for employee payroll and things like that. And I have to come up with those numbers and bring them to her to basically sit down and go, can we afford? And it's never been a thing where it's like, oh, we're riding that line or something along those lines. But, it's just both of our minds have to be at ease before we're comfortable signing a lease on a warehouse. And we're sitting there going, in a year, this could be profitable, but so far, that lease would be covered by this other section of the business.
Right.
So, that's how we've always looked at it. Some of the viewers have seen or heard this. I'm so concerned about making sure that things can be sustainable financially. The building, I have it under contract. I'm in the inspection period right now, so we'll see it in like 2 weeks if it'll close or not. I actually bought a functioning car wash, because the bays have heated floors and floor drains. And I'm going to convert one of the bays into proper royals
and the other 3 bays are going to continue operating as a car wash because I want the cash flow coming in.
Such a good idea
to sustain the building.
So that reminds me. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I don't know if it's a good idea or not. Ask me in a year. I might be like, yeah, that whole car wash. I might be running restaurants again and have a car wash for sale, you know.
When we were first touring buildings and looking at available buildings, there was one that was a bank and it had shut or closed down and the building was for sale. And we toured it, we looked at it. It ended up being way overpriced because it was in Woodbury, which is a very ritzy neighborhood. So it didn't work out just because of the budget, but it did have a drive-through because it was a bank. So we were thinking you could drive through, you know, pay for crickets, and then we could shoot them through the like cash tube thing straight to your car.
Oh, you had the vacuum. Shoot the tube. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Like drive through crickets and maybe mice, not so much.
Right.
Make it to the other side of it dazed.
Yeah, we don't want to torture things, but let's shoot things out of the down the tube. Yeah, absolutely. You could do like what are some small like I don't know. Yeah, there's got to be some food items or like, I don't know, various things. That would be cool to have.
Nice. Oh yeah, frozen rodents. Really, any insect I think would be okay.
Yeah. Dubia roaches in the tube.
Yeah, but then we were like, well, we probably don't want that anyway because you want to encourage people to go into your store to buy the feeders they need. So it's okay that it didn't work out.
That's true too, and that's something people don't think about. That's like the cheap chicken wings in a restaurant. We want you to come buy the beer. I don't want you buying chicken wings to go cheap. You got to eat them in the bar. I need you to have a beer. That's the same thing with the crickets, huh? You need them. You want them coming into the building. Yeah. That makes sense. That's good insight on that. What am I? Just a couple quick fire questions at the top of the hour. I got to take care of the advertisers real quick, and then we'll talk about animals as well. How do you guys have a process when it comes to creativity? Are there, is it just, hey, let's do this and we go for it? Do you workshop things? Do you have like a list that you're like, all right, I want to get to this, and this is an A, B, or a C. Let's work. Any processes or systems to that?
There's some videos that we have to film when they're happening, like eggs being laid or eggs hatching. Like when that happens, you have to jump in and film the video, which can seem annoying at the time because you can't wait when a snake is hatching to film later. But at the same time, when you're done filming, you're like, oh, now I have a video. So this is great. Now I'm kind of working ahead. Yep. For non-breeding type videos, we kind of have just a checklist of ideas on my phone. And whenever we think of something new or when somebody gives us an idea that we're like, you know what, that would be a good idea for a video, we just jot it down. And then when we need to film videos, we go through and we're like, which ones can we film this week?
What's going to be a halfway easy video to film?
Yeah.
What's your production level on video? Like how many videos are going out a week now for you all?
We do 2 a week. We upload on Tuesdays and Fridays. We are supposed to have a video coming out today, but I remembered it 10 minutes before the podcast started, so I have a thumbnail halfway done, and I will finish it when we're done here. And
no, you guys are human, just like the rest of us.
I'm terrible at uploading. I used to try to get them both uploaded for the week on the previous Sunday, and it felt amazing having them pre-uploaded and everything. I just keep forgetting. There's too much going on, and then Tuesday's here before you know it. Yeah. And now it's Tuesday at almost 8 p.m. Central Time, and I still don't have a video up. But they always make it up eventually.
Did your thumbnail?
He did, but I just want to tweak it a little bit. Okay. I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to everything.
I know the feeling on like when I get ahead on booking, I'm just like, even today, I was like, I'm relieved. I got booking next week taken care of. I got December planned out. I'm good. I can just focus on this hour and a half tonight. And then there's other times where I'm like, who's going to be the guest? I got to have a show. I don't miss shows and I do have advertisers. I have commitments to keep up, but obviously an audience is the most important, and the customers are the most important, and they look for that as well. Two last questions on the media part. What are some of the keys for an important to you on a thumbnail? I see that you're really passionate about that, and clearly it's working. So what do we need on a thumbnail to really seal the deal and get that click?
I guess my recommendations, and I think Ed would probably agree with this too, is to avoid clickbait. First off, if you say I hatched a
rainbow snake,
and then you Photoshop and say it's like a rainbow boa, and you Photoshop a rainbow colored snake instead, the misleading visuals in thumbnails will upset people who feel like they were tricked into watching a video. Mm-hmm. So just being transparent in your thumbnails and showing what's actually going to happen in the video, I think that helps out quite a bit. I also recommend using fewer than 5 words when it comes to the text on a thumbnail. I found if you use more than 5 words, it ends up being a little too wordy, or the text has to be too small to be able to easily see when you're like scrolling by. So that's one of our tricks, is 5 words or less, and then having one main focus. Maybe sometimes 2 focuses works, but you don't want too busy of a thumbnail. You want it to be easy to, I guess, absorb at a quick glance.
Yep.
Okay. And then who does the edit, or do you do editing? I suspect you have to do editing, right? Who does the editing, and to what extent? Like, I'm guessing you don't want it too overproduced. I was watching your parrot video from South Florida, which, by the way, I got about 19 messages that morning. Emily's wearing your shirt. I was like, I don't know what anybody's talking about.
Oh, that's awesome. I used to do all the editing up until 2-3 years ago, I think. We were like, I think 6 months into opening our store, maybe 6 months to a year, because I remember doing a lot of editing in the office.
Yeah, you edited at the office quite a bit.
Yeah, but it would take me about 8 hours to edit a 15 to 20 minute video.
Right.
And it goes an entire day, and then you're spending other days of the week trying to film, and then you're trying to run this store and zoo as well. So there was it wasn't feasible or sustainable long term. So we now have a full-time editor. His name is Eric. He's fantastic.
He's amazing.
He started 3 months ago.
Yeah.
We had another editor who was great too. He just decided in the end that he didn't want to pursue editing. He wanted to move on to other things, which is great. But good for him. We left on good terms. But new editor Eric is doing fantastic. What's funny though is he is not from the reptile community originally. So when we use terminology like, oh yeah, for next week's video we went herping. He's like, what is herping? And then we have to explain this. But then he catches on very quickly, and he picked up our style of editing very fast. He's similar age to us. Yep. So a lot of the jokes that we get and appreciate, he throws in because he does too. Yep. So it's a really, really good relationship.
Good. There's like a massive step, and it's I think it's an accomplishment, but it's such a massive step when you can hire experts to handle things. Like, again, I just relate everything back to restaurants and kitchens, but when you can have an amazing chef and I can step back and run the business and trust the chef. And like you say, we see eye to eye on what the food should be, or what the recipes should be, or the quality or the process. Like, that all plays into it. And that's another example of things that just has to take trust. Like, what's that first video like when you're like, you got a new editor and you're like, we kind of got a lot riding on these videos, keeping this YouTube thing going for me. So, congratulations on having that. I think that's really cool.
Thank you.
Do you focus on media anywhere? I know YouTube's the primary media. Do you work on content pieces on other platforms or not?
Not really. We just don't have the time. We would like to have edited down previews of upcoming videos to post on other platforms to help kind of guide or funnel people towards the channel, and maybe we can get some new viewers that way. But it's kind of a lower priority because we want to make sure that we're still focused as much as we need to be on the channel itself. Yeah. We don't want that to degrade as a result of taking on other projects.
Yeah, you do pretty stinking good. I think you're fine. I don't think. Yeah, I think it's. I think it's pretty good. No, because I listen if I listen to other business podcasts or market Gary V or whatever. Yeah, he's like, you got to have 22 pieces of content on 7 different platforms daily, and it's like, I'm sure that works, but also you could be really amazing in one area and really leverage and magnify that as well. So I think that there's always a lot of different ways to go about that.
Yeah.
I want to say thanks to the audience. There's 171 of you. You guys have obliterated my personal record, and I really appreciate it. That makes me feel very special. If you're just tuning in, my name's Adam. This is a Proper Royals channel, and I'm a ball python breeder. I hope you'll consider liking and subscribing. That stuff does help, and I hope to see you again. I do this every Tuesday night with guests like Ed and Emily. Not always with as many followers as they have, but certainly kind people and good people that I respect and that I've gotten to know in the industry over the past couple of years. So I want to take just a quick break, give some thanks to the advertisers, and then we're going to get into the animals. And I've been making some notes on some questions from the audience as well, so we can sneak some of that stuff in also. If you like ball pythons and you're in Minnesota or nationwide, I do ship overnight nationwide. You can check out properroyals.com, and that website is powered by Husbandry Pro. I ship with REDLINE Shipping. They are reptile specialists. They are reptile keepers, reptile owners, and they partner with FedEx, and they make sure that your animal gets safely, legally, securely, and in a healthy way from point A to point B. You have the REDLINE team on your side. And if you're not sure how to ship, I'm new to Minnesota. So, this cold weather stuff is new to me. I literally could call up REDLINE. They talk to me about temperatures, where I'm at, where I'm going, how to get those animals there safely. I choose REDLINE for all those reasons. If you haven't used REDLINE before, or if you have and you haven't used the promo code, use the promo code PROPER5. Get yourself $5 off of your next shipping label. Another nice thing about a big episode is that I get to tell the advertisers, hey, I'm bringing you value because we're going to have eyeballs on your brands tonight. So Charlie at shedtesting.com, if you want to genetically test your ball python for certain genes, tonight's the night to do it. Shedtesting.com, over 32 ball python genes, dominant and recessives, that you could test for. Charlie tonight is running a promo. Use the promo code PR30. It expires at midnight. PR30, you can get 30% off of an order of shed tests, and you can order as many individual shed tests as you would like on that. PR30. Genes like VPI, Xanthic, Wookiee, Sunset, Clown, Puzzle, Ultramel, Zebra, and the whole Yellow Belly complex as well. And in the future, you can use promo code PROPER15, but go tonight, get the promo code, get your 30% off. RGen Reptiles, that is Robbie Richard. He is in Greer, South Carolina. He's focusing on, I'm sorry, I got a lot going on here. I made a note. I made a list of all my new bullet points, and it threw off my combos. Robbie deals in nice high-end upscale double and triple recessive combos. Currently on Morph Market right now, he has a visual male DG Clown combo that is on Morph Market, as well as some Zebra Project ingredients. You can check him out. If you go to rgenreptiles.com, you can join his email list, and you'll get first dibs on any animals that come out. Plus, he has perks for his email list people. It doesn't cost anything. It's like a free Patreon. You're going to get the perks and the first dibs. And he also has a YouTube channel that is ball python focused. And Robbie's a great guy, keeps everything PG, all that good stuff. So go check out Robbie. Portuguese pythons. That's Danny and Renee Rocha in Chino, California. All of my Ultramel Pied Project ingredients have come from Danny and Renee. They focus on dark genes and single, double, and triple recessive combos. They just updated their Morph Market. So if you go to currently right now on their Morph Market, you'll see Ultramel Clown combos, Puzzle Project ingredients. They also have Hypo DG, VPI, triple projects ingredients that are on their Morph Market page right now. I think I got everything out of there for Danny and Renee. So go check them out. And like I say, they're great people. I have a bunch of their animals that I'm just so excited to have and to work with that I'm growing up. Ball Labs is Trevor in Aurora, Colorado. He focuses on high-end genes, but also like forgotten classics. Those of y'all that don't know, there was like an early era of proving out genes, and then they kind of went by the wayside because somebody got distracted by something new here and new here. And Trevor likes bringing some of those back into newer combinations, but he's also working with Puzzle, Ultramel Clown, VPI Xanthic, Tri-Stripe, Monsoon, Zebra, and Sunset. The other thing I love about Trevor is that he's one of the very few inspected and licensed rodent breeders in Colorado. In Colorado, you have to have a special license to do that legally, and Trevor's doing it the right way. You could support a breeder that's exploring fresh combinations and doing things the right way. And he's got a great Instagram channel, if you'll check that out. Last but not least is the very first advertising partner that I ever had on Proper Royals. And I'm proud to say that we still are partners to this day. That is Chris at B&S Reptilia. Chris specializes in all kinds of species. That's why it's called Reptilia. So he's got ball pythons, locality, boas. And Emily, you're going to have to help me because I'm going to massacre how to say this. He has Tarahumara boas in right now. Did I get that right? Tarahumara?
I'm not familiar with that species, so let's go with yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, it's a locality. I know that. But otherwise, I know that he has those in stock right now, and I thought it was a cool name, so that one stuck in my head. But he also has blood pythons. He has colubrids, and he does as well within colubrids have Pituophis, the bull snakes and the pine snakes. And if you double check your state, you might need a special permit. But when we were vending together at Tinley, I know he had the permits there for Illinois. So he can get you what you need, take care of you. He's also the regional distributor regional distributor of the chipper, Coco. And he also heads up overseeing the distributors of the chipper. They are looking for regional and local distributors. So if you don't have chipper in your area and you're interested in bringing that, reach out to Chris. He'll take care of you. He's also a great mentor and friend, and he is my Tinley business partner as well. Thank you to the advertisers. Those are who keep on the lights. Those are who make things possible each week. And I can so proud to tell you personally that they are good people and people that I'm proud to work with. So go check them out. Give them a little bit of love. This is where I would usually reintroduce the guests, make sure everybody knows who we're talking to, but you guys know this is Emily and Ed from Snake Discovery. We've talked about a whole bunch of boring business stuff that I get excited about, but that maybe others won't. But I'm so thankful for the audience that's here tonight, 164 of you right now. So thank you for being here. The animals, that's like you got the customers on one hand and you got the animals on the other, the two most important parts of the whole equation. So I know you guys these days are really known for your hognose affinity. I think you kind of the leaders in the whole hognose charge. But how many different species of animals do you have at the zoo? Do you know?
Well, we have 75 different exhibits in the zoo itself, but as far as the quantity of species that we keep and breed, I mean...
I would assume there'd be 75 different species in the zoo because we don't have doubled up enclosures.
That's true. Yeah, we have multiple animals in some of the enclosures, but same species. So 75 species in the zoo, and we have probably a dozen more species just in back, whether they're educational animals or other species that we just breed. So I would say anywhere from 80 to 90, probably closer to 90 species that we work with in general.
Nice. And so you have two different areas. You have the display, the zoo, but you also talked about breeding animals. What animals do you breed, and where are those available? Are those available in the same venue, or how does that work?
Yeah, we sell some of our babies in the store. We go through our wait lists first, since the wait lists tend to fill up pretty quickly when we open them on March 1st or beginning of March, basically. But once we've finished going through those lists, then the leftovers are made available to the public. So like today, we posted that we have hognoses, and the remainder of our hognose babies for this year are available to the public now since we've finished going through the wait list. But as far as species that we breed, I'm a big colubrid person. I love weird species of colubrids, especially North American species of colubrids. Ed's more of a python guy. Yep. So we breed, as far as colubrids go, hognoses, we've bred variable kings, Pueblo milk snakes, NBKs, bull snakes, fox snakes, garter snakes, eastern milk snakes we did this year. Black milks this year, yeah. We've done the monkey-tailed skinks had a baby recently, so that was pretty exciting. We've done a couple of species of boa constrictors.
Yeah, false water cobras.
Blue beauties. So yeah, there's I don't know, a couple dozen species that we've probably bred or produced. I should write it down.
We've bred ball pythons, so we are officially snake breeders.
That's true. We have 2 whole clutches of ball pythons.
How and and I'll be so honest. I'm so laser focused on ball pythons. I'm a little ignorant outside of that. How much variance or variability in husbandry and temperatures and enclosures, all of that, do you have across your species? Or are they pretty similar in the care that's provided that has to be given to them?
Especially in the zoo particularly, we try to mimic their natural environments as much as possible. So when we were developing their exhibits initially during the construction phase, we actually looked up images of the natural habitats of each species, and then we had a variety of different substrates, plants, and backgrounds to work with to try to combine together to make a good replica of that natural habitat that they would encounter. For our breeders, since you have to do more of an economical type setup, you can't do a huge, bioactive natural enclosure for every single animal if you're breeding them. We still have different tiers and different types of setups for different biomes of species, I guess, just to try to put it in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. But so we have a different substrate and setup requirements as far as hides and certain types of enrichment for, say, hognoses versus the bull snakes or the blue beauties that we raise. But yeah, we try to systematize everything so that our staff can follow it as easily as possible. Yep. And be able to keep up with that standard.
That actually was going to be one of the questions I asked. So it's got to be process driven. It's got to be, here's how we do it. It's consistent. And I mean, we would want that as a sole caregiver and we would know that, but that's got to be even more so when it comes to staff members that you have to train and teach. And they do come and go. I mean, that's the nature of business, I think. Sometimes.
Yeah. We had to develop a 2-month training process for each new hire that works in our retail and zoo departments. So we do a month just focusing on the retail section first, because everyone wants to work in the zoo. So you have to do a month in retail when you're a new hire. And then assuming you can, you've grasped all the information and you're doing well, then you get a month training in the zoo. And that includes a lot of hands-on educational bits as well. And after that, I'd say the majority of our new hires are good to go. Yep. Sometimes it takes a few a little bit longer because we all learn in different ways, but usually within 2 months, they're ready to go.
I'm having flashback to my corporate days where I'm like, training manuals, process standards, expectations, HR conversations. I mean, but that's the reality again of growing. It's congratulations. It's amazing on that.
No, thanks.
Your animals that you breed, are they in? I'm assuming obviously there's got to be a separate room from the zoo because you don't just have people walking through the breeding area, I'm guessing. But do you have separate rooms or separate areas set up among those species, or is that just kind of its own area there? And I think you mentioned earlier that you were going to move to a whole separate facility on that as well.
In January / beginning of February, we were able to move our entire breeding collection from our main facility to another location, another building altogether.
You already did? Okay.
Yep, they're all there. We have, I think, 320 snakes there nowadays, with the most recent inventory count anyway. But we really wanted to separate them because with our rescue at the main facility, biosecurity becomes an issue. So we take in 2 to 12 surrenders a day. And because of that, there's a lot of potential exposure. And even though we have a pretty strict system of how you do a health inspection, what things you have to treat for, what things you have to be concerned about with these surrenders, we still didn't want to risk our breeders being even in the same building.
Well, I mean, all it takes is one employee not knowing and going and grabbing a snake that has whatever disease and then not washing their hand and walking over to take another snake out to go out to the zoo, and then you just transferred it from one to another. So
that's right.
So it's hard to teach that into somebody, is what we've learned. So our curator's amazing. He's already got that built into his brain. He knows biosecurity. He's very much like, I start here and then I go down and I don't really touch the snakes. I just kind of work around them and things like that. And it's nice to have him in that position too, because he takes things as challenges. So like we have, the black milks were one that we had. I think we've had black milks for 2 years now.
I think 3.
3 years, and we first year when we got him, we didn't have any success with him. Second year we got slugs. Then we hired him, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to get you eggs this year." Got eggs, and they hatched, and it's nice to see we have him there to really take that on, take it under his wing, and he's very smart, and he knows what he's doing. So
yeah, when you find those people, they're just gold, and like I could see it, like you light up talking to them, you're like, yes, that's the guy, that's the right guy that you need to have. What are the logistics like moving? I think you said 300 and some snakes from one facility to another, because moving these from Florida to Minnesota was a little something. So I can imagine what did you guys find? What was your strategy on that?
We just moved them in the racks.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, since it was January, it was the middle of winter. But the nice thing about that was a lot of our breeders were in the fridge, so they didn't even know they were being moved because they were, kind of dormant at that time.
Yeah,
so
bromating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They were just information at that time, so it was perfect.
Yep.
We rented a Penske truck with a lift gate,
yep.
and we just simply wheeled the fridge full of snakes up into the Penske truck,
yep.
along with the
racks
of non-bromating snakes. We just rolled them right on in and then rolled them out into the new building.
The new building is only about 10 minutes away, so it's much easier than trying to get them from Florida.
I will tell you the whole saga, but that low rack in the back here that's set up like a little table in the back, like so there's 4 levels. I rented a Sprinter van, one of the high vans, so that I could roll my rack straight in. And on top of that table, I put an air mattress, and that's where I slept inside the Sprinter van with my racks vertically to the ceiling at truck stops across America.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
That's right. And I did it. It took 2 loads. I did it twice.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Let me tell you, like with no ventilation, the bio load adds up pretty quick. I would wake up just like, oh, what is happening here?
Thankfully, we've never had to travel overnight with that many snakes.
No.
We only travel with enough that we can still fit in hotel rooms,
yep.
sneak in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's an art to that too. Like,
there it is. You check in first, and then you take your car and pull into the side door of the hotel. I mean, the snakes are coming out of the bins. They're not going to make any mess. They're not chewing on furniture or pooping on the floor or shedding. I mean, if they shed, it stays in the bin.
Yeah.
So we don't feel too bad, sneaking them in. But
the only time I've ever felt bad is you brought a turtle one time, and you feel bad for them being in a bin stuck because they're naturally swimmers and stuff like that. And you put them in the tub and filled up the tub maybe an inch with water. And like the entire night, it was climbing up the wall and then going smack, smack. And it was like, you need to do something before we get yelled at for whacking the tub too many times.
It fell asleep eventually.
It did. It fell asleep. But.
Yeah, I use the I get looks at somebody like the display cases. Will just brought it up. They look just like music equipment. So I'll start rattling, music talk. Where you play? Over at the convention center. And then you just walk off. You just gotta keep moving.
All right, there we go.
Music
when it comes to the display cases.
I'm on that now.
The one other detail that was crazy. I made it to Ames, Iowa, and the Sprinter broke down, and they had to tow it and me to the Dodge dealership in Iowa, and the guy was like, "All right, where do you need a lift to?" And I was like, "Nowhere. I'll be right here for the night." And I slept in the Dodge dealer's parking lot in the Sprinter with my snakes. The starter had gone out. They had to put a new starter on it in the morning to get me. I made it all the way to Ames, Iowa from Jacksonville, Florida. And broke down.
You were so close.
I know. So anyway, but I'm here, and life is good. So we talked about the animals you were breeding. Somebody asked very early on in the episode, what is your favorite hognose morph? And I know nothing about hognose morphs. So are there as many as ball pythons? Are they dominant and recessive? How's it working on those?
There aren't nearly as many as ball python morphs. There are incomplete dominant morphs, but not many. Most of the morphs in the hognose world are just basic recessives. My personal favorite combination is probably the lavender conda morph. I like that they still have some spots, but that's reduced spotting because of the conda morph, which is a patternless type gene and incomplete dominant too. And I just love the color of the lavenders as well, especially when you get a nice quality one.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite morph, Ed?
Probably sable.
Oh yeah, that's
it's
right.
the one. It's our chase animal right now. We haven't been able to. We produced one. It was full of kinks last year. Yeah, it's been the chase animal for me, anyways, with hognoses. So that's my favorite right now.
That I can get that. I don't know anything about sable, but I could get that. You get like fixated on something where you're like, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna do this. Yeah.
And then you get so close and to make one, but then it having kinks to the point where you have to cull.
I was so happy to see its little head stick out.
Yeah.
And then it was still in there a day later, and we're like, oh no. And sure enough, we pulled it out. And it was like head came down and it went.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Next year.
Yes, it'll happen eventually.
It will, but that is part of the reality of it too. Is that some of those challenges that are very real. Somebody else asked, are you going to have any holiday events or holiday themed events or holiday episodes on your videos? Anything coming up in the next 6 weeks? Kind of cool that way.
We're actually filming one today.
Yes, Ed had to grab a pumpkin pie out of the oven because we're in the middle of filming our Thanksgiving special right now. So after this podcast, we have to take this pumpkin pie and we made reptile safe deviled eggs and stuffing. And after this, we have to take all of these dishes to our zoo and feed them to animals and finish filming the video. So we always do a Thanksgiving special where we make reptile safe versions of traditional Thanksgiving dishes. And then Christmas, we always have a traditional video where we give presents to our animals. We did not have time to do a Halloween special this year because we were traveling too much in October. So I do regret not having time for that, but we'll make sure we have one next year. Yeah.
So all right, so you got your thumbnail still to do tonight, and you have to go feed the pumpkin pie to some animals tonight.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a late night, but we're used to it at this point.
Yeah, we'll get home at like 11 o'clock, and then we'll finally eat dinner. You know, we're good.
Yeah, we eat dinner late just because there's so much going on.
Well, that was actually sooner than I thought. 11's not. What people don't see is that off screen right over here, I have my heater going to warming up frozen rodents. So after this tonight, I feed tonight too. So I'll race you. I don't know if I'll be done by 11 or not, but yeah, tonight's feeding night as well afterwards. Somebody asked earlier, do you have, I don't want to phrase it as bad experiences, but do you have things that new people getting into the hobby might not know that they should know about, or that you would say, hey, you got to be aware of this from an educational standpoint, or anything along those lines? What should new people know about?
I think if you're looking to be profitable with reptiles, don't expect it to be able to replace your full-time job anytime soon, because it's quite the building process. You kind of have to breed reptiles for the passion of that species rather than looking at dollar signs. For just keeping reptiles as pets, honestly, the biggest thing that I think freaks people out is when snakes just don't want to eat, because it happens. And we're so used to growing up having mammals as pets where you feed them multiple times a day.
Eat 2-3 times a day.
Yeah, so when your snake refuses a meal on Friday, say, and you have to wait till the next week and then it refuses again, people start to freak out, understandably, because how can it survive without any nutrients? And it's just what they do. So you just kind of have to accept the fact that they don't want to eat sometimes, and sometimes they escape too. That's another thing that everybody encounters at some point. We had somebody just the other day actually bought a ball python from us, and I think like 2 weeks ago, and it escaped the tank. You know, they just do sometimes. And she was worried about finding it, and she's hopefully going to find it soon. But it sounds like when she finds it, she wants to surrender it to us because she's so distraught about it escaping. And we're just trying to convince her, like, no, it's okay. It happens to everybody. Doesn't mean you can't have snakes. Like, it's just a learning opportunity.
Yeah. In my limited experience with that, I would say check under your fridges and anywhere, your water heater, anywhere that there's heat, that snake is going to figure out where to go. Or right under the cage where its heat is, and it just stays right there too. So, I think those are both. I think those are great points. All right, the big finish question. What's up with these hognoses? They seem so difficult. They can eat each other. You got to brumate them. You can, why? What is up with hognoses? Give me the pitch for some dummy off the street. Hit me with it.
We don't have hognose here that we can just hold up to the camera, do we? They sell themselves.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. All we have are rattlesnakes on the other side of this monitor. We can't really hold those up to the camera.
Oh, don't do that. Okay, they got the cute little noses. I got that. Okay, all right, I'm down with that.
Yeah. You know, they have so many unique adaptations between the nose, the playing dead when they're scared, the rear fangs. They're just such a unique species, and they're a native species to us here in Minnesota. And I think that's helped me really fall in love with them too, just knowing that we can find them in our backyard. But the first time we bred hognoses, we swore to never do it again because the first clutch we had, we could not get those babies to eat for anything. And we were like, okay, we're never breeding these again. But, you kind of forget about it. And then the following year, we produced another clutch. And you get better and better. You learn more techniques to get them to eat. The biggest thing is they just don't like a lot of space, which sounds weird.
Contradictory.
Yeah, because they have endless space in the wild, but they do have little microhabitats, so they like feeling secure. But once you have time with them and know how they work, breeding them isn't terribly difficult.
No.
But they make good pets because of how, cute they are, but also how reasonable of a size they are too. They can live in a 20 long for a male or a 40 for a large female for their entire life. And ball pythons, full grown, need like a 4x2x2. So they're a good space saving option.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We always recommend them as a second snake because when you get them young and you want to hold people who get them as pets want to hold their pets all the time.
Yes.
And hognoses just don't do well with that until they get to be older, and then they learn that humans aren't going to kill them. They're not prey for the human. When they're babies, though, they have such a prey drive that they'll just stop eating, and then they'll just, then you get the whole thing about being worried that your snake's not eating, and it becomes an issue. Like, the snake's losing weight. Well, how often are you holding it? Oh, every day. It's like,
right.
Okay, get something that's a little bit more forgiving with being held, and then get the hognose.
So what's the first snake then? I
like recommending Mexican black king snakes nowadays.
Okay.
They are a little musky as babies, but they only grow to about 3 to 4 feet as adults, so they don't need a huge 4-foot enclosure. If you have room for that, then that opens it up to a corn snake or a ball python. They're excellent starter snakes as well. Yeah. But for size limitations, and a lot of folks, live in apartments where you have limited space. Mm-hmm. So nowadays I'm starting to recommend, NBKs because they seem like great, robust, good eating snakes that fit most people's households.
Yeah, that's a good point about them eating. Like that's the biggest thing. The customer follow-ups that I get are generally like what you're saying. It won't eat and I'm worried. How big is the enclosure? I got a 40-gallon enclosure. Well, you have a 100-gram ball python. It's terrified in there. It wants to feel secure. And I think people, like you made a really, really good point. They say, well, they have all the space in the world in the wild. That's what I want to give them. And I'm like, you can, but I promise you that snake is terrified right now. And he's so vulnerable when it's eating. Imagine being stuck on the side of a road with something, 20% of your body weight stuck in your throat and you're worried about predators. You're not going to eat. You're not going to do that. So, no, that's a neat idea with the Mexican black kings. Yeah. Cause people get those just to eat what the other animals don't eat, like, so they don't waste food.
They have the garbage disposals. Yeah.
Right, yeah. There you go. Well, hey, I think we're just about at that time, and I think it's been a fantastic show. I want to say thank you to the audience. Will you all give us a little promo about the show you have for anybody local here in Minnesota? That's coming up in a couple weeks for y'all.
I'm gonna give one shout out to Jason Phillip in the comments. He basically mentioned that I should be getting a dummy battery for the camera for live streams and stuff like that. That was on my to-do list forever, and I just was never at a position where I saw it. So I just hopped on Amazon and bought one of those and a couple cables I've been needing. So thank you for reminding me.
There you go. Jason's actually in a group chat that I've not met him. I don't know him at all, but he's in a group chat that I'm in as well. So I will catch up to him. Cheers for that. Props to that. You're talking about the fake battery you could put in, yes. And then you plug the extension cord basically right into it.
Yep, exactly.
You got to have one of those. Yeah, that's what you need, man.
I've been just using batteries, and then the whole camera dies, and then the whole stream goes down. And I'm like, well, I should probably just have done that.
That happened Sunday night. Again, we're terrible YouTubers. We really really need to increase our quality of equipment.
Yeah.
Well, there we are. There we go. Yes, thanks to Jason.
Yeah, that's going to be like another 1 million viewers right there, subscribers right there in the little box from Amazon. It's going to be great for you. Hey, I want to tell you all, thank you so much. I know you're busy. I know that just from what you described tonight. So it's really means a lot for you all to trust me with your brand and trust this show with your brand. So I thank you very, very much. Audience, thank you all. I hope the new faces, I hope I get to see you again. If you enjoyed this, I hope you let me know. Love to hear any feedback or any comments. I will be, the next show I'm vending will be with Ed and Emily at their Hastings show, December 8th, Hastings, Minnesota at the Armory. Hope that you'll come out and check it out. There's a whole variety of animals there for sure. This Saturday night, I'll be running a live auction on Palm Street on the app Saturday night at 8 p.m. And same place, same time next week, I will have Miguel from Miggy's Morphs. He was in the audience earlier. I don't know if y'all saw his logo, but check out his Instagram. And otherwise, I'll hang out with him next week. Thank you all so much. I can't wait to see you soon. And just congratulations. Keep going. Thanks for being, the faces that you are in this industry. I appreciate it.
Of course, we're just happy people want to learn about reptiles. Yep. So thank you for having us on your podcast tonight.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. Anytime. If you stick around for just a second in the green room, I'll say goodnight to you. Otherwise, everybody, thank you so much. See you same time, same place next week. Bye.